I want you to think about the last 6 months of your life. Not the highlights. The other stuff. The arguments that came out of nowhere. The sleep you can't get. The relationships that quietly fell apart. The doors that kept closing no matter how hard you pushed. Now ask yourself this question honestly: what if that wasn't just life? Because here's what nobody tells you. The devil doesn't kick your door in. He doesn't announce himself. He doesn't show up the way Hollywood told you he would. He comes in slowly, quietly, through cracks so small you don't notice them until the damage is already done. And by the time most people realize what's been happening, he's been operating in their home for years. I'm going to show you exactly what it looks like. And I need you to stay with me until the end, because the last sign is the one the enemy is counting on you to dismiss. Sign number 1. Your home became a war zone and you don't know when it started. Think back. Was there a specific moment your household shifted? Or did it just slowly become a place of tension? Arguments over nothing. The same fights on repeat. Words said that cut deeper than they should. And afterwards everyone looks around the room wondering, what just happened? That's not a communication issue. That's not stress. That's a pattern. John 10 verse 10 says the thief comes only to steal, kill, and destroy. And the first thing he targets is never you directly. It's the people around you. Because an isolated person is a vulnerable person. A house divided cannot stand. Jesus said that in Mark 3 verse 25, and the enemy has read that scripture too. He doesn't need to attack you if he can turn the people you love against each other first. If your home used to feel like a safe place and now it feels like a battlefield, that shift didn't happen by accident. Something came in. And it's been feeding on the conflict ever since. Sign number 2. There is a specific place in your home that doesn't feel right. Not the whole house. Just one room. One corner. One doorway. And every time you're near it, something in you shifts. A low-level dread you can't name. An unease that makes no logical sense. You find yourself avoiding it without realizing you're doing it. Pay attention to your animals. Dogs refusing to enter a room. Cats staring at something in the corner that isn't there. Children who suddenly don't want to sleep in their bedroom anymore. 1 Peter 5 verse 8 says the enemy walks about like a roaring lion seeking whom he may devour. Lions don't charge in the open. They position themselves in the shadow. They wait. They study. That room where you feel least like yourself, that's not your imagination. That's discernment. And discernment is God's early warning system that most people silence because they don't want to seem crazy. Don't silence it. Sign number 3. The moment your house goes quiet, your mind goes to war. You finally sit down. The kids are asleep. The phone is down. The house is still. And instead of peace, your thoughts turn on you instantly. The worst version of every scenario. Memories of your most painful moments playing on repeat. A voice that sounds exactly like your own telling you it's too late. You're too far gone. Nobody actually cares. You've already ruined it. You call it anxiety. You call it overthinking. You've probably Googled it. But 2 Corinthians 10 verse 5 tells us to take every thought captive. That instruction would not exist if our thoughts were not a battlefield. The enemy doesn't need to physically enter your house. He enters through your mind. And silence is the moment his voice gets loudest because everything else that was drowning him out is finally gone. Think about this. When is the last time you sat in your own home and felt completely at peace? Truly still. Truly calm. If you're struggling to remember, that's your answer. Sign number 4. Everything keeps getting blocked at the same time. The job falls through. The relationship cracks again. The finances take a hit the moment you get ahead. The opportunity disappears. Over and over. In every direction. Like there is an invisible ceiling on your life that you cannot break through no matter what you do. Most people call this a season. Some call it bad luck. But look at Job. The enemy stood before God in Job 1 verse 10 and said, "You put a hedge around him." A hedge. Meaning the enemy is fully aware of divine protection. He knows exactly where the covering is. And he knows exactly where it isn't. If your life feels blocked in every direction simultaneously right now, don't just push harder. Ask first what door opened that shouldn't have. Unforgiveness. Bitterness. Fear you've been feeding. Content you know you shouldn't be consuming. Agreements you made that you never repented of. The enemy doesn't need a wide open door. A crack is enough. Sign number 5. People you trusted have turned on you. Friends who knew you for years suddenly went cold. Family members became hostile for reasons you still don't fully understand. People you sat next to, ate with, confided in, started moving against you. And it happened fast. Like something got into the relationships around you and flipped them. Before you blame those people, read Luke 22 verse 3. Satan entered Judas. Not a stranger. Not an enemy. Someone at the table. Someone Jesus had walked with, eaten with, laughed with for 3 years. The enemy didn't come from outside the circle. He came from inside it. The most painful betrayals in your life were not just human decisions. Something got into the ear of someone close to you and whispered until they believed it. And you sat across from them wondering what happened to the person you knew. If you've been hit by betrayal recently, especially from multiple people in a short period of time, that is not random. The enemy steadies your support system first. Then he quietly dismantles it. Because he knows a person with no one to call is a person with no one to fight alongside them. And now, the last sign. The one he needs you to skip. Sign number 6. You feel fine. Everything seems normal. Nothing on this list applies to you. Because here's what the enemy understands better than most Christians. His greatest weapon is not fear. It's not conflict. It's not even temptation. It's comfort. A person who is alert is dangerous to him. A person who is praying is dangerous to him. A person who recognizes the signs and knows how to respond, he cannot touch. But a person who feels like everything is fine? Who thinks spiritual warfare is something that happens to other people? Who watches a video like this and thinks, yeah, that's not really me though? That person he does not need to attack. That person is already exactly where he wants them. 1 Corinthians 10 verse 12 says, "Let him who thinks he stands take heed lest he fall." The most dangerous place you can be spiritually is comfortable. Here's what ties all of this together. The enemy is not creative. He never has been. He uses the same playbook he has always used: division, silence, mental attack, blocked doors, betrayal from within. The same 5 plays since Genesis. The same strategy he used on Adam and Eve. The same strategy he used on David. The same strategy he tried on Jesus in the wilderness. Which means the moment you learn to recognize the plays, you stop being confused by the game. Ephesians 6 verse 12 says, "We do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers and rulers of darkness." This is not metaphor. This is scripture telling you directly, the real fight is never with your spouse, your coworker, your family member. It's with what is operating behind them, through them, around them. And the moment you see the attack for what it actually is, the enemy loses his most powerful weapon, which is your ignorance of his presence. So what do you do right now? You pray over your home out loud. Not in your head. Out loud. You walk through every room and speak peace into it. You cover every person in your house by name. You close the doors you have been leaving open, and you know which ones those are. And you stand on what 1 John 4 verse 4 says without apology. Greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. The devil may have gotten comfortable in your house, but he was never the landlord, and he was never the owner. And he has never, not once in all of history, won against a person who knew who they were and what they were standing on. You were not built to lose this. If this described something you have been living through, share this with someone whose house needs this word today. Drop in the comments which sign hit closest to home. I read every single one. And your testimony might be exactly what someone else needed to see to finally understand what they've been going through. Subscribe to channel name, because next week I'm going to show you exactly how to pray over your home, room by room, and shut every door the enemy has been using. He's been in there long enough.